Hello GearFacts friends, look at this monstrous leviathan of a workstation. This is the Roland MC-909. I've done a couple of videos of this one before, but never gone into quite this much depth. There are seemingly endless patterns. You can use the two rows of buttons down here to quickly mute or activate specific tracks just to get a feel for the overall mix, and you can also use the same buttons to select a specific track and change its sound. So if you ever get this machine, you'll probably spend a couple of hours going through several hundred of those. But then it's time to get out the manual and try to figure out how to operate this thing. It's actually not that bad. I found this easier to get into than any other MC series machine that I've used. Chapter 1, of course, is recording our own beat. Let's give it a go. Pretty basic. Let's hear how it sounds. Simplistic and completely out of sync, but it's got all the tools that you need to correct that. Let's move on to effects. I love experimenting with effects on any device. These ones can be really extreme. Again, there's lots to choose from, lots to try out, and inevitably you'll waste some more time going through that selection. What I'll do now is grab a beat, isolate a track, and we'll apply some effects specifically to that track. Okay, bass line. Nice and simple, easy to work with. Just about all of these effects can be time synced too, so that's great to work with your rhythms. The selection of sounds also feels kind of limitless, and you can synth them up a little bit using the filters and the ADSR envelope. Actually, just while we're looking at pitch, the keyboard is small and very crowded. It's good to see that you can transpose your octaves nice and quickly here. And of course, what puts this workstation above the others in the MC series is the ability to sample. Okay, so we press sampling, we're in sample mode, everything's quite straightforward, except perhaps physically getting my guitar in a good position so that you can see everything. Okay, so sampling is rolling. Don't worry about not starting instantly, you can trim it later on. Whoops, here we go. And when you finish recording, you'll see that the screen begins to build the visual waveform for you. This is where the MC-909 shows its age a little bit in the processing speed. As you can see, this is all quite laggy. The top of the display shows the complete waveform, and the middle part of your screen shows a zoomed in version, and you can see that I'm beginning to trim off the beginning here. Again, processing is a bit of an issue. We're seeing this in real time, and I've decided that I actually quite like that buzz noise that I accidentally made when I started sampling. I like glitchy kinds of sounds, so for me they're worth saving. So I'm just going to trim right to the start of that. And again, that laggy processing is showing as the central zoomed in display catches up. Do 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 do. And now I've clamped my start and finish time firmly around that nice buzzy noise. And so I'll go ahead and save that sample. I'm going to speed this bit up because all I'm doing here is naming it and giving it an appropriate memory slot. And we get the normal "Are you sure?" type warnings. You don't want to overwrite anything. Real-time playback again, friends. It actually takes longer to write the sample than it does to play the sample. I'm honestly not complaining though, because the end quality really is very good. Okay, so the buzz noise isn't a great example, but I'm going to zip through at 10 times speed here, everything that we've just seen, to the guitar sample. So as you can hear, the sampling quality is absolutely glassy. The real fun comes when you start to apply the effects again. So despite the slow processing, in a relatively short amount of time, we've made a really beautiful sample there. And there are heaps of presets built in with the machine. Here's an old video of mine that you can look at if you want to see a really big selection of what sounds are available. Present day. Here are some sounds I really like. All the classic tones that you could want, and a very powerful synthesizer. Some slick monochrome graphics as well. Okay, so we've got sequencing, sampling, and an excellent sound set. Let's hear it all together. Some nice loops there, but if we're going to talk about the late 90s and early 2000s, we really need to get into the hard beats. must be one of the first workstations of this type to feature a USB input, 2 SP diff sockets, and all of the audio inputs and outputs that you're ever likely to need. It didn't quite meet up with the SD card era though. We've got smart media cards for our portable memory. And if you take the cover off the back, you'll see that you've got SRX upgrade options, as well as expandable RAM. Gotta say, friends, it was a pleasure to try out the MC-909 again. It's feeling and sounding perhaps a little bit retro, but I think in a good way, because the overall quality of those sounds and its capabilities is really high. It must have been amazing in 2000 or whenever this was released to experience this thing. Let me know your thoughts if you had any experience with the MC-909 or any of the MC series. Let me know in the comments. See you next time on Gear Facts.